Thanks, Anthony. I was very emotional, and I was already going to have a hard time getting through my speech, but thanks for that. Whew, okay. I stand here and I look at this amazing place, and the banners behind me, and it makes me feel very proud. I usually come to these things and I hang out with all the old players and friends, and we get to reminisce about old times and have some beverages. Tonight I get the honor of doing something more special, but someone should have a drink waiting for me when I get done. Danny and I officially met when I was 18 years old. It has been the best 10 years of my life. What? I'm being serious. No, joking aside, I've known Danny for 30 years, probably way more than my parents thought it would last. I've spent almost 2/3 of my life with Danny. After we met, Danny went and played soccer at University of Connecticut, and I went to school in Arizona at Northern Arizona University. After college, Danny got his first job as an insurance claims adjuster. So if you're ever in an accident, Danny is the person you need to talk to for advice. He's your man. One day he called me and he said he was quitting his job so that he could be a non-paid assistant coach at Scottsdale Community College. I think my reaction was, "You did what?" After that, he became the head coach at Mesa Community College for the men and started the women's program a year later. Those were simpler days. When I would run the clock, I would do the announcing, I would play music, and Danny's parents were in charge of the concession stand. Donna, who is Jason, his now assistant coach's mom, would run around after Cole, our oldest, who's standing in the corner. He was also the director of coaching for a local club. We were married in January of 1998, which will be 21 years this January. I remember during this time, after having our son Cole, I would have to take him to the fields at night so he could say goodnight to Danny, because Danny would leave the house at around 8 a.m. and not return until almost 10 p.m. He's always been very driven like that, as well as hardworking. And we had to make sacrifices early on in order to get him to where he wanted to be. In early 2002, Danny saw an ad in the back of a soccer magazine, and it was for a job at Metro State University of Denver for a head women's soccer coach. And he decided to take a chance and apply. I remember thinking, Denver? And I've never heard of that college before. Joe McDermott, the athletic director at the time, took a chance on a no-name community college coach that was motivated and ready to make it as a Division II head coach. Danny got the job, and short time after, we realized I was pregnant with our second son, Drew, who's actually, unfortunately, sick this evening. We were excited, but nervous, because we had never really lived outside of Arizona, especially me. We looked at houses when I came to visit, and I remember crying and feeling hesitant about the move. Trying to be supportive, but thinking, I really don't want to do this. I couldn't wait to get back to Arizona someday. Spoiler alert, that never happened. Danny's first year at Metro, he took the previous year's team that was in last place in the conference to the Final Four. I think his coaching may have had a little bit to do with it. The day they won the Elite Eight game was freezing cold and snowing outside. And of course, Danny was awake at 3 a.m., looking outside, and decided that he was going to go into work and go in with the field guy and try to clear the field for the game. By early morning, it wasn't just Danny and the field guy, but almost the whole baseball team. They were out clearing the field to make sure that the game would be played that day. Drew was less than a month old, So we went upstairs in the basketball gym, overlooking the field. There used to be treadmills there, and I was walking on the treadmill holding Drew. I was so nervous, and I screamed a few times, and he cried. He was less than a month old, and I remember just being up there, and I remember seeing Amy Lecklider, who's here tonight, running down the left side of the field all alone, shooting and scoring the game winner. Towards the end of the game, Danny's assistant took over and watched Drew, and Cole and I stood at the edge of the field for the final few minutes. A bus pulled up, and the volleyball team, who had just lost in the Sweet 16, started coming off the bus. And they stood behind us, and they cheered on that 2002 team. I remember how excited they were for that team, even though they had just had a devastating loss. The teams, coaches, and staff supported each other. That is what's so special about Metro. As we counted down to 0, Cole and I ran onto the field. We hugged and celebrated, and Danny said to me, "Are there any kids in here?" I won't say the bad word, but he said, "We're going to the effing Final Four." I will never forget that moment. Sorry. They lost in the semifinal that year, but a few years later, Metro went on to win the 2004 and 2006 national championship. I knew that Danny was far from being done with his journey as a head coach. We moved to Laramie, yes, Laramie, Wyoming, in 2007, where Danny coached at UW, University of Wyoming, for 4 seasons. And we raised our kids in the most kid-friendly town you could possibly imagine. I have to say, University of Wyoming was good to our family. In 2012, CU came calling, and it didn't take much for us to decide to leave Laramie and come back to the place we've considered our home since 2002, Denver. Danny is now in his 7th season at CU. He has an amazing team this year. I'm going to brag about them for a second. They're currently 12-0-3. I changed that 12 today when they beat Oregon 4-1. They're ranked 16th in the country. I've seen teams like this before in 2004, 2006. Just saying. He's coached for about 25 years, and his record as a head coach is 349 wins, 104 losses, and 41 ties. At Metro, his record was 128 wins, 11 losses, and 7 ties. So I was basically the cruise director out there on that field. It was a party every game. Some other minor accolades that Danny has received, and I'm going to share whether he wants me to or not, are: he was a 4-time NSCAA Midwest Region Coach of the Year, 6-time RMAC Coach of the Year, 2004 NCAA Division II National Coach of the Year, RMAC All-Time Women's Coach of the Year, 2011 Mountain West Conference Coach of the Year, and this summer he was inducted as the 2018 RMAC Hall of Fame. Danny looks at things from all points of view, and this helps not just him, but everyone that interacts with him, from looking at situations on and off the field in a negative way. He's always the one I go to for advice when I have a problem or an issue that I have to deal with. Not only is he, in my opinion, the best women's soccer coach in the country, he's also the best husband, daddy person, son, brother, and friend to everyone around him. We're lucky for knowing him and having him in our lives. Not only have I supported him through his coaching journey, but he's always supported me in everything I wanted to do. He always tells his players it's all about the journey and not always about the results. Even though results are important, it is not the reason why he does what he does. We have a great life, and I wouldn't change this amazing journey we have been on for 30 years for nothing. I'm extremely proud to be his wife and the mother of his children. Please welcome my handsome, amazing husband and your 2018 Metro State Hall of Fame inductee, Beth Sanchez.
Well, they always say, don't follow someone that's a lot better at something than you. And after Anthony, and especially my beautiful wife, Beth, I really should just get off this stage and head over to Brooklyn's. As they prepared speeches, my typical, I waited till the game ended today, and I scribbled some stuff on the back of a soccer piece of paper. In November of 2001, and trust me, I won't make this long. In November of 2001, I was coaching a game, like Beth mentioned. I was the director of coaching for a club in Scottsdale, and back then, for those of you that are old enough, I'm not throwing out names, but you know who you are. 2001, cell phones, you got about 75 minutes for about $30 a month. So you didn't answer the phone unless it was really, really, really important. So I'm coaching this game, this U14 boys game or girls game, and Beth calls me hysterical, crying, and I'm like, so I answer, I'm like, what? She's like, I lost Cole. Where'd Cole go? Is he still there? There's Cole. I go, what do you mean you lost Cole? So Cole was about 2 years old at the time. I'm like, what do you mean you lost Cole? She goes, I can't find Cole. I can't find Cole. We lived in a condo in South Scottsdale. So I just beeline it through the middle of the game. I get in my Nissan Frontier pickup and zip home. And I get home, and Beth's on the ground holding Cole, just crying and shaking. And Cole had somehow opened this door, walked down the stairs, walked through the complex. I guess nobody saw him walking through this condo complex, by the pool, thank goodness, and he was trying to get out to this green belt. And you look at Cole now, he's a big, tall drink of water. Back at the time, he was a chubby little guy. And he got stuck under the fence trying to go up the green belt. There's a point to this, trust me. And I looked at our lives, and we had a very good life. My parents lived right by us. It's right where we grew up. We went to high school together, as Beth mentioned. And I was like, you know, where do I want my life to go? You know, I'm coaching 2 teams at junior college. I'm coaching a high school. I'm teaching at the junior college. I'm director coaching for this club. And like Beth mentioned, I saw this, you know, the back of the NSCA, National Soccer Coaches Association magazine, like this position at Metro State. And I'd never heard of Metro. And I applied, and I got a call from Joe McDermott saying she wanted to come, Joe McDermott, she said she wanted me to come out and interview. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's not like I have a lot going on. Nobody's beating down my door. We had a lot of success at the junior college, but nobody's beating down my door. And you know, I get here, and they bring me to, I think it was so this is February, so I think it was a basketball game, and they put me up at the old, used to be the Red Lion. Now they're like fancy studio lofts next to Bronco Stadium, and I go outside, and Eddie Provencio, the tennis coach who's hosting me, his car won't start. So we have to get someone to come pick me up to drive me over there. And I'm thinking, this is so big time. And the next day, Joan sits down with me, and she's like, you know, what do you think? And the other 2 people that applied for the position, one had been a Division I head coach, and then got fired. Then she went to a junior college and got fired. And the other one was the coach of Portland State, had gone 0-19. So the bar had been set low. So I'm like, well, if you can get that, you know, that $32,000 salary up to $34,000, I think we're talking. And she talked to George Cease, and I went home and talked to Beth, and she goes, I go, what do you think? I go, I think we're going to move to Denver. And Joan called, and I drove my truck out here and lived on Eddie's couch for 7 weeks. He lived over by DU, and Beth was, I like to say, 14 months pregnant, all by herself, dealing with our youngest son. She covered a lot of the stories, but the little story how we got here, you know, we took a huge pay cut to come here. Beth's made tons and tons of sacrifices. So I think she's underselling what she's sacrificed in her life for our success, and it is our success. It's not my success. Anyone that's in here that's a coach knows that if you're out on an island by yourself, you're going to end up there. You're not going to be successful. You're not only successful as the people around you. And fortunately for me, I've had great people around me my whole life, especially in this coaching realm. I remember when we got to Metro, they used to give you these Chipotle coupons, 250 of them, and it's for a free burrito. And you're supposed to give them the team when you go travel. Well, the Sanchez's took a big pay cut to come out here to Denver, so those things weren't going to the team. So our big night out was, and we found a place in Thornton. Our big night out is we'd go get Cole a Happy Meal, and they actually had Happy Meals back then. We get Cole man a Happy Meal, and me and Beth would get 2 burritos and share a soda. So for about $6, we had a family dinner. But yeah, I look back at those times, and it was awesome. And I have a million stories, and I'm not going to go through all of them. I want to thank some people. First, I want to thank Joe Q, who's here, who was our FAR at the time. Joe, there you go. Back then, Joe had a lot more hair. Joe's been a friend, and you know, we talk about my best friends that I've had. I don't have a lot of friends, shockingly. For you know me, I don't have the greatest personality in the world, but Joe's been one of my best friends and supporters since day one. So Joe, thanks for everything. I know Joan McDermott isn't here. She was at the RMAC one in July, but Joan took a chance on me, and I was a nobody. I was one of a million other people that were just hoping for a chance to coach at the next level and keep going. And she took a chance on me, and she's just a great friend. And I can't thank her for enough. I mean, when the job opened at CU, you know, she put a call into Seal Berry. Some of you may know Seal Berry, the Hall of Fame basketball coach from University of Colorado, and she helped me get that job there too. So I want to thank Joan. You know, I think that part of the glue of this place that makes Metro special is people like Elaine. And we all know Elaine and her hugs and how much she cares about it and how much her pride that she has in Metro. It's awesome. Some people that, a couple people that aren't here, my parents who instilled in me the values of working hard that I'm hoping I'm instilling into my sons, Nana and Papa. They're just, I'm not going to talk about them now. I talked about them earlier. They're just awesome people. I want to thank Mary and Lupe Alvarez for coming from Bakersfield. Adrian's parents, give a little wave. There you go. Just great people and part of our life. And obviously that leads me into a couple of our former players that are here. You know, I talk to my players a lot about, you know, they're all concerned about playing time and what their role is going to be. And you look at someone like Mandy Allen Nail now, you know, as a sophomore, and I think she still holds the record, Division II for shutouts in the season with 17. And then her senior year, she played in 1 game because we picked up a transfer goalkeeper. And she could have used that as an excuse, oh, I hate Danny, he's a big jackass, which there's something to that. But, you know, she's a great friend and supporter, and has been, you know, just at the end of the day, saw the bigger picture of it and was the starting goalkeeper, you know, when we won the championship in '04. Amy Leckleiter, thanks Amy for coming. Our first superstar here at Metro that we had, multiple-time All-American Hall of Fame member, now with a couple kids and on with life. I'm getting old, but doing awesome. I'm gonna forget somebody here. Grandma and Grandpa, best parents. Way back in the day when I was a lot skinnier. We used to always go to the river. We go tubing, and I just started dating Beth. Close your ears, Cole, my son. So we're tubing, and we're a couple cocktails in, and I decided. And she lived out in Fountain Hills, which is out by the river in Phoenix, and I decided it's a good thing to have a couple cocktails and then go over and see if Beth's home from work yet. And so I come up to the door with my shirt off with all my buddies, and Grandma opens the door, and she looks at me, and I go, "Is Beth sick?" No. I go, "Well, can we hang out by the pool?" She goes, "Sure." And she slams the door, and she goes, "You can go around the side of the house." So I set the bar low, but Gary and Ann Strom, all their support is big time, so thank you, Grandma and Grandpa. Get a little clock for them. I do want to mention someone that doesn't have a big connection to Metro, but is a really close friend of mine, and that's Jason Green. You know, Jason Green, who's my associate head coach at Colorado, was assistant when we were at Wyoming, but also coached with me in Arizona, Mesa, and played for me at Mesa. You find certain people as you go through this world that that are important parts of your life, and Jason has been a huge part of my life. He's had opportunities to go do other things, but how much he cares about my family, how much he cares about my boys, how respectful he is of everyone, and So I want to give a little shout out to Jason Green back there. Jason, there we go. And then a couple of the really special Metro people, and I'm going to start with Dave Morgan. When I got here in 2002, we weren't very good. We didn't have a lot of players. I didn't know anybody. The assistant coach position paid about 27 cents an hour, and Dave Morgan was recommended to me. And I didn't know him from anyone, and he came out and was right out here. It was March of 2002, and the men's national team was training, and Dave came out and. I started talking to him a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I played at Metro, and maybe, if you're looking for assistant, I'd take that big pay that will almost cover the parking here at Metro. And it started a great relationship. Obviously, we had a ton of success here with the national championships and so forth, but more importantly, friends and people you know and people you can trust. So when we had an opening at the University of Colorado, 4 or 5 years ago, he was my first phone call, and we went to CB Potts in Westminster, and I think it took us both about 5 seconds to decide that he was going to take a big pay cut from club soccer to come work with us, and it's been one of the best decisions I ever made, and it wasn't really a decision. He's the only person I called, and I'm glad he's a part of our program there. He's a part of Metro lore. He should be a Hall of Famer here, in my opinion, but I don't get to vote. But he's a great player here. He's a Metro State graduate, and just a great person. So thanks, Dave Morgan. Adrienne Alvarez, I got the phone call in 2003. She was at Cal State Bakersfield, and I was talking to her mom about this story earlier when we were over at Brooklands warming up. And he's like, oh, I got this great player. And you never know those moments in life where you're going to meet the people that are going to really affect your life. And Adrienne came in from day one, was a leader. Yes, she scored the national championship. Yes, she was the captain of the national championship team. Yes, she was the assistant coach when we won it in 06. Yes, she went on to become the head coach here and go to the Final Four and tons of NCAA appearances and all that. But more importantly, the fact that she would come back for something like this for me and my family just means so much to me. And like what I always talk about, at the end of the day, and I've talked about this before, at the end of the day, what are you judged on? For those of you that are in here that have kids, what are you judged on? You're judged on, I think at the end of the day, what your kids become. How are they? Are they respectful? Are they good people? Do they work hard? Are you instilling that in them? Everything else, it doesn't matter. Championship, nothing else matters. And I think that Mary and Lupe, their family, and especially Adrienne, they've raised awesome people. Forget about coaching, forget about that. People that are respectful, that care, that generally are just really good people. And the fact that Adrienne is part of my life and still is a part of my life and my family's life, it's just, you never know where the world's gonna go. So Adrienne, awesome, thank you for everything. I'm not going to go too much in the banners because at the end of the day, yes, that's important, and those were great moments for us. But we did have, like Pete said, it's all about the talent. It's the same at Colorado right now. It's all about the student athletes. They're the ones, I always kind of feel guilty when I'm these, but I didn't do anything. I didn't run hard. Anthony probably ran 8 billion miles. I've ran like 6 in my life. So I always feel kind of guilty because I feel like I'm really just representing the players. I'm really representing the program. I'm really representing the university and so forth. But we had some really, 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 really good players here. And Andy Schlichting, who was the old SID here, is now at CU, gave me the list. In the only 6 years that I was here, Janelle Brandt, Colleen Felony, Mara Guante, Kylie Hanovan, Amy Lecklider, Rachel Zollner, Kira Sharp, Nicole Cito, Becca Mays, Naomi Clark, Stephanie Prouty. All Americans. I mean, there's 250 Division II programs with 30 players. Someone help me with the math. I'm not very bright. That's a lot of players, and there's only 20, 30 All-Americans a year. And we just had a ton of talent. So this is really, this award, I think this induction is really about them. And lastly, because I know we got volleyball coming up, and I said I was going to be short, and I'm not being short. My boys, Cole and Drew. Cole's, fortunately for me, is a sophomore at University of Colorado, and he's one of our team managers, and I get to see him every day. And we had a heart-to-heart even just last night. He was trying to finish that paper, and I wouldn't let him go to his club until he finished that paper. All that matters to me, Cole, is the type of person you become down the road. The winning, the games, all this, yeah, it was great we beat Oregon today 4-1. I'm over it. I've moved on. All it is about what you and Drew become. And we know that you can become great young men that we can be proud of. And we are super proud of you, and I want you to continue down that path, okay? I want to be very clear about that. We're super proud of you. Continue down that path. And last, and certainly not least, Beth. When I first met her, we went to the same high school together. She was in love with me in high school. I didn't really know who she was. But we met right after high school, and at a party at my apartment, and then I saw her a couple days later, and that was it. And like she said, it's been over 30 years, and I've been so fortunate to have someone like her in my life. The two boys, our families that are so close, but her support. She cries after every game. When we win, she cries. When we lose, she cries. She misses Metro because she didn't understand when we're Metro, we won every game. And I try to explain to her the Pac-12 is a little more difficult. But you are everything to me. You're everything to our family. You're the glue for us. And I wouldn't have the success. We wouldn't have the success if it wasn't for you. So really, this award is yours. Thank you, everybody.